Why do women dance more than men? How do blind people dream? Why does time fly when you're having fun? These are some of the curious questions we will discuss with intriguing answers and facts. Please tune into a Matter of Facts channel and like and subscribe. Are computer games as addictive as some drugs? Parents have often described their teenage children playing computer games as addictive as drugs. But are computer games addictive, causing real changes in the brain the way drugs such as cocaine do? Yes, but only to a degree. Dr. Peter Wybrow, the director of neuroscience at UCLA, calls video games electronic cocaine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the brain that increases when we experience something pleasurable. In the past, it serves as an important survival benefit, rewarding a successful or beneficial behavior that promoted well-being, such as finding a meal or a mate. Scientists have found that when computer games are played, particularly ones with higher levels of challenges, dopamine is released as a reward response to achievement. Dopamine signals to the brain that it has succeeded in the challenge, and this prompts the brain to want to repeat the action to receive more pleasure in the form of dopamine. As each new level of the game poses a greater challenge, even more dopamine will be released when it's successfully achieved. Drug use produces a similar response in the brain, and the euphoric effect of cocaine is the direct result of an increase in dopamine. The question is, are the levels of dopamine production and addiction potentially the same for computer games and cocaine? No. Now let's put this in perspective. Here's a list of activities and the amount of dopamine that increases for each one. Eating food is 100%. Playing computer games is 100%. Having sex is 200%. Taking cocaine is 350%. Taking methamphetamines is 1200%. Have you ever wondered why women are more comfortable or dance more than men? If you go to any club, you would notice many more women are dancing than men. Is there a reason for this marked disparity between the sexes? Let's talk about it. Women dance with men when they can, but seem equally happy to dance alone or in groups of women. Now, on the other hand, men are usually very reluctant to strut their stuff and often only do so under pressure. Women usually dance for pleasure. When they do dance, they often see dancing as a form of self-expression and not as a talent show, not caring about what other people think of their style. Now, on the other hand, men usually derive very little joy from the mere act of dancing and usually dance if they could dance very well. Men often feel they are being judged on their style, so they think they should either dance like an expert or not dance at all. Now, these different mindsets exist for a reason. As is often the case, evolution provides the most plausible explanation. Scientists believe that early men danced to bond and communicate as part of a courtship display. Now, a good dancer will require good health, coordination, rhythm, stamina, and strength. Skillful dancing indicates genetic fitness and ability to produce and provide for a better offspring. This quality would have likely made someone more attractive to the opposite sex and given them an evolutionary advantage. As with most species in the animal kingdom, our ancestral females, limited by the number of offsprings they could have, sought quality over quantity. Dancing was one key way to determine the best mate. This would have led women to dance more to entice the men to dance, to see what the men were made of. Dancing up close would also allow the women to garner further information from the men, including pheromones, to assess whether they were a good match. Our ancestral male pursued the female seeking quantity over quality, so as to increase the chances of propagating his genes. The need to impress the female gave him a fear of dancing because he knew he had to dance well or risk being shunned. There was a lot to lose, so only men who were very good dancers would have taken the risk. Women, on the other hand, were being pursued, so they had nothing to lose if they danced badly, and everything to gain by using it as a tool to obtain information about a potential suitor. Because of this early social dynamic, most women evolved to love dancing, while most men evolved to hate it. Have you ever wondered why people rub their eyes when they're tired? There's no sure sign that it's time for bed when adults and children start rubbing their fists vigorously into their eyes and start yawning. But why the eye rubbing? Here are a few physiological reasons for this behavior. Number one, similar to rubbing a sore arm muscle after playing sports, as a person gets tired, the eyes get fatigued as well. By rubbing the eyes, eyelids and muscles around the eyes, the soreness and the tension are relieved. Number two, tired eyes or dry eyes. Creating film that bathes the front of the eyes and the protective layer begins to evaporate. Rubbing the eyes stimulate the lacrimal glands, producing more fluid to bring moisture to the eyes and provide some relief. Number three, there is a connection between the muscles that move the eyes and the heart. Applying pressure to the eyes stimulates the vagus nerve, which causes a reflex to slow down the heart rate and relaxes you, making you even more tired. Why does time seem to fly when you're having fun? Time flies when you're having fun. People often say this, but is there any science to this phenomenon? In a 2003 study, Routine and Perception of Time, published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology, psychologists believe that people perceive time differently, depending on their mental state and what they are doing. When people are bored and uninterested, their mind tends to wander. When this happens, people usually look at the time regularly to see how much longer it would be until they can do something they enjoy. Conversely, when people are occupied in enjoyable activity, their minds are focused, and they don't look at the time as often. The more often you look at the time, the slower it seems to pass, and vice versa. Oddly, though time flies while you're having fun, your memory's perception of that time is usually the opposite. When you think back on an interesting passage of time, it generally involves many new experiences or memorable moments. So you're able to retrieve many of those moments from your memory. So in retrospect, it feels as if time lasted a lot longer. On the other hand, long, boring days when you did nothing, which felt like eternity at the time, will feel like they flew by when you remember them, as they added very little new information to your memory. We all dream, but have you ever wondered what blind people experience while they're dreaming? Everyone dreams, some more vividly than others, but a key element of most dreams is the visual aspect. But if blind people can't see and don't know what it's like to see, do they dream? And if so, how? People's dreams are based on the things they have experienced in their lives. Blind people do dream, and how they dream depends on how much they've ever been able to see. If a person goes completely blind after about the age of 5, their dreams will still contain visual experiences, similar to those who can see. As time passes, the pictures in their dreams will become more blurry, with the prevalence of experiences from other senses, such as sounds, increasing. A person who had diminished vision in early life will usually have dreams with diminished visual experiences, similar to what they used to see. People who have been totally blind from birth or before 5 will usually only have auditory dreams. These are dreams that contain sounds and no images, just like what they experience when they're awake. Their dreams are just like the dreams of people who can see, only without the pictures. Blind people also report an increase in taste, smell, and a touch sensation in their dreams, which compensates for the lack of visual imagery. Have you ever wondered why we rarely see dead birds? The United States is home to billions of birds spanning thousands of species. Although some birds, such as parrots, have long lives, most of the birds we see, like finches and sparrows, live only for a few years. Given that most birds have fairly short lifespans, what happens when they die? Why don't we see thousands of bird carcasses lying around? The first main reason would be predators. Many birds don't die from old age, but are killed or eaten by predators, such as other birds or cats. The second would be migration. Many birds migrate, and many die on a long flight, landing in lakes or oceans where we don't notice them. The third reason would be concealment. Like many other animals, if a bird feels sick or vulnerable, they will often seek out secluded places to hide away, such as holes in a tree. They will either recover or die, and if it's the latter, we won't see the remains. And the fourth reason will be decay. Birds are light in weight and are thin-skinned and have very little fat, and their bones are not dense. When a dead bird hits the ground, if it's not eaten or taken by a predator, it will be invaded by insects and bacteria that quickly decomposes the carcass. With only a few days, very little will be left that we can recognize as the remains of the bird. Why is it that people become emotional when they're drunk? Drinking alcohol affects our personalities in many ways. Some people become happy drunks while others want to fight. Why does this embarrassing behavior happen? Alcohol impacts every organ and system in the body, but the effects on the brain is what determines our behavior. Once absorbed into the bloodstream and reaches the brain, it acts as a depressant, interrupting and slowing the normal flow of neurotransmitters. In essence, the central nervous system is slowed, and we experience the loss of motor functions, a delay in reaction time, and a lowering of inhibition. As we consume more drinks, more areas of the brain are impacted, including the limbic system. The limbic system is believed to be the brain's emotional center, controlling our behavior and keeping our emotions in check. Once it's affected by the alcohol, we become subject to mood swings and exaggerated mental states. But why the crying? As a general rule, drunken emotions are just an exaggerated version of our sober personalities. A happy person will become giggly and silly, and an angry person will become aggressive. And if you're feeling sad or nostalgic before you start drinking, there's a good chance you might end up crying. Do cell phones really interfere with aircrafts? How many times have you heard this?
All electronic devices, anything with an on and off switch, needs to be and that includes cellular phones. Thank you.
At the start and end of every flight, most people comply with the instructions without being completely sure why. The general assumption is that signals from cell phones interfere with the plane's navigation instruments, which may cause the plane to crash. Yet many people forget to turn their phones off, and the plane doesn't crash. This raises the question, can a cell phone really bring down a plane? The Federal Communication Commission has banned the use of cell phones on aircraft, but that ban is to prevent the disruption to cell phone towers on the ground. When a call is made from the air, the signal bounces off multiple available cell towers rather than one at a time. This may result in the ground networks becoming clogged up, so no danger to the plane there. However, the Federal Aviation Association has banned the use of cell phones because of potential electromagnetic interference with aircraft systems caused by the signals cell phones emit. These may interrupt the normal operations of the plane's instruments, particularly the communication and navigation systems, and potentially the flight controls such as autopilot and warning systems. But has this ever happened? According to the International Air Transport Association, 75 instances of suspected electronic device interference occurred between 2003 and 2009. That said, there is no known example of an air accident having been caused by use of a cell phone. Have you ever noticed that seagulls hang out in parking lots? Why? Have you ever driven into a parking lot hundreds of miles from the nearest ocean and wonder why you're competing for a parking space with a flock of seagulls? Why are they there? Seagulls are more accurately called gulls, and while they often like to be near water, they don't strictly live by the sea. There are more than 50 species of gulls, some of which live inland, including a ring-billed gull, which thrives in suburban settings. But why do they congregate in parking lots? There are two reasons for this. Number one is food. Gulls are opportunistic feeders and will eat almost anything available, including fish, insects, fruit, and scraps discarded by humans. Parking lots tend to offer plenty of food scraps in and around their dumpsters and garbage cans, especially if there is a food outlet in the complex. The gulls in parking lot are also often the beneficiary of a french fry or two thrown by benevolent patrons. Manicured grass and other landscape patches around the pavements of parking lots are also good sources of insects and worms. Number two would be safety. Parking lots are quite safe for gulls. They're spacious, open, and flat, and it gives the gull a clear view in all directions so that it can see any approaching danger. Also, the roof of a supermarket provides a safe resting place where they can fly easily if a predator appears. So therefore, the seagull or the gull population have increased significantly as a result of opportunities these parking lots afford them. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the Matter of Facts channel, and please like the video and click on the bell for notifications of future videos. Take care. Take care.